Hello friends, welcome or welcome back. I'm channeling my inner Alice from Twilight today. When I was in high school, this is exactly what I wanted to look like. This is exactly what I wanted to look like when I was in high school. Maybe dye it black, because then I would look more like Alice Cullen, the vampire with psychic abilities, okay, from Twilight? I watched too much Amanda the Jedi, so Twilight is now back on my radar. You know what else is on my radar? You? How you doing? It's been a while. Welcome to That's My Closet. I'm switching everything around. I used to record in that corner directly across from me, but it got to be a bit much boxing myself into a corner every time I wanted to turn on the camera. So I'm gonna clean up the shelf and such behind me. Ta-da! And there's just like stuff everywhere. There's makeup brushes on the floor. I'm tired lately, because I've been working 3 days a week. For like a person without any kind of setbacks of a physical or psychiatric nature, 3 days a week, that's like, wow, a part-time job, that's the dream. What a gift. But for me, also the dream and a gift. But I get so tired so much easier because I'm using all of my mental power to keep myself present and at the front of my consciousness while I'm in the store. And it's fine and it's great. It's just a big challenge. And I personally thrive on challenges. I think until things seem impossible, I can't do anything. Is that anybody else? Is that a childhood trauma thing, or am I need to get a grip? Let me know. I've been thinking about my mother a lot recently, which, recently? Is that what I just said? Recently, I've been thinking a lot about my mother, and there's dog hair in my mouth. And also, it occurs to me now that some people might think that I do not like or love my mother the way that I speak about the way she treated me on this channel. And nobody in my family or any of my friends or anything, nobody has approached me about this. I just worry that there's people who think things. You know when you worry about what people think about you? Yeah, that's, I guess, what's going on. But I also think it's very important to note that, yes, I do love my mother. Let me tell you a story. My mother said and did some pretty awful things to me, around me, about me. And not just me. It was, a household of people. However, I am the only one who can speak for myself, and I am the only one that I can speak for. So when I talk about the way that I was raised and stuff, I'm not including my, brother or sister in any of that, because it's their lives and their stories to tell. Where am I going with this? Oh yeah, so there was, when I was a child, I personally experienced more verbal abuse than physical abuse. However, I don't remember everything that happened to me when I was a kid. Part of complex trauma disorder is that you have repressed memories sometimes because you have dissociated to keep yourself safe during a traumatic event. And when I say you, I mean me. There sometimes can be different altered states of consciousness that develop as a result of this, and that's a thing. I don't know. It's something that I'm looking out for. It's something that I'm curious about. It's something that I have reason to believe may be a part of my reality, but I'm not ready to talk about that yet. However, I think it is very important to put it out there that in the year of our Lord 2020, a thought that I've had many times is, I trust you, but I don't know if everybody does. And if there's nobody else in here, that statement doesn't make sense. Anyway, I love my mother, only how do I explain this in a way that will make sense outside of my head? Now that I understand my mother, and I understand the why behind the what, it's easier for me to accept my current circumstances. I can walk around and only get angry like a couple times a week that I'm like this, instead of being angry all the time because I'm like this and I don't know why, and your mother is supposed to protect you. I don't understand how she just so blatantly did not protect me, you know? But now, I am 30, and I have spent time with my mother's family, who I love so dearly. So dearly, oh my god. It's amazing. Okay, so I was isolated from my family for years. Until she passed away, I didn't see, talk to, think about, relate pleasantly to my biological father, because I think I can wrap up everything that happened between my mother and anybody else that she ever encountered with one word, and that is fear. When she got cancer, how do I explain this? There was a lot of denial in my mother's life, and when she was diagnosed with cancer, stage 4, metastatic, if you are not a cancer person, that means that, so there's different stages of cancer. There's 1 to 4. 1 being the, hey, you know what, we caught this kind of early, we can do this. And 4 being the, say your prayers. Anyway, my mother said her prayers, only she was shooting for a miracle, because the doctors told her a miracle was what it was going to take. So she said, all right, words I heard many times in the last few months of her life, we're shooting for the miracle. And my mother was the most negative person I have ever met in my life, and she was always so full of rage. Everything was always about her. Giant narcissist. That is the behavior. Underneath all of that, fear. So much fear of the unknown, of looking at herself as she was. When she was sick, she mentioned more than once that cancer isn't a disease. Cancer isn't like a tumor that grows in you. The tumors actually are unresolved anger and fear. Which, interesting, because I do believe, from my personal experience in therapy and from just walking with a cane for a period of time, I firmly believe that your physical health and mental health are one. Well, no, 2 separate things, but like, they play off of each other. And when my mother was sick and shooting for her miracle, the doctors were so confused. Her doctor was like, there's nothing holding this woman together right now other than willpower. She is skin, bones, and cancer. How? And that's the power of the mind for you. The way that my mother actually gave up. For me, the day that she died was the day that she demonstrated acceptance for the first time in her life. But it just was kind of sad. This whole story's kind of sad, depending on how you look at it. But the day that she passed away, the day before she became unresponsive, the doctor was like, hey, so reminding you of the prognosis here, you are not going to get better. And the defeat in this woman, she was like, well, if everybody else is giving up, then I'm gonna give up too. And then the next day, her breathing changed and she became unresponsive. That was on a Saturday. And that whole day is gonna be a whole video of itself. Because there's a lot. But on the day that she finally put down her miracle sword and was like, listen, alright, it's not gonna happen, fine. That really shows me exactly who she was. She was fighting not only for herself, but she couldn't hear what the doctors were saying to her when they said it would take a miracle for you to get better. They weren't saying, pray for a miracle. They were saying, prepare yourself. And she didn't prepare herself. She spent the whole time in denial and trying to be strong, potentially for me and my brother. Potentially she was just doing this for her kids to stay around as long as possible, because she was not like a 1950s housewife mother. Not that that is ideal. She was not the ideal mother that people would She loved us. There is no doubt in my mind that my mother loved me more than life itself. However, I don't think that she should have had children when she did. What I'm saying is I forgive my mother, because you know what? Everything that happened to me as a result of her is A, part of who I am now. B, she did the best she could with what she had, which is all you can ask of anybody. And numero trois, fucking live and learn. And you know what? I learned so much about my mother since her passing, because she was so... What she told to the world was that she was this kind, open, chill, laid-back, fun, like, rocker chick, who just wanted to be different, and not like other girls. But I really believe at her core that's who she was and who she wanted to be. But what she demonstrated to the world outside of her brain was something else. Behind closed doors, my mother was constantly berating me for not being good enough. I remember not much from my childhood, but some of, like, the vivid memories that stick. Oh, I think my washing machine's done. Do you hear mechanical twinkling, anybody? Daddy walked by with his sigh, said Johnny sit by my side. What was I gonna say? Boy named Jimmy, yeah, he's a cutie, but no, Johnny, no. I love Tones and I. This song actually reminds me of my mom observing gay behavior between me and my female friends, and her jumping in to save me from going down the bisexual path, because bisexuals have a problem with commitment. There's a lot to unpack there. Spoiler alert. She was biphobic and homophobic and racist. Unresolved trauma can do that to a person. Part of the reason why I make videos like this and talk about just the most deeply personal information is because A, I have nothing to lose. B, we've already done this counting thing before in this video. 3, my mother was raised in a time where therapy and mental illness and requiring just a little bit of help, maybe even having to take an antidepressant like I do, that was not a thing. And I think there are many boomers out there, I don't mean to like, okay boomer, but the baby boomers need therapy, but they don't want to be called crazy. Nobody wants to be called crazy. And I think my mother, I absolutely know, because she told me on many occasions, that my mother thought that if you needed mental help, you were crazy, and that you should be in control of your emotions. I got in trouble for having PMS one time that I remember I got in trouble for having PMS, because you should be in control of that. And she would always look to herself as an example. She would point to herself as an example of like, look, see, I don't get drunky. She didn't get drunk. My mother was not a drinker. I don't get grumpy when I'm on my period, so you shouldn't either. Like, you don't get grumpy, Mom. You have been grumpy since September 11th, 1990, the day that you pushed me out. Way too soon. The woman was 26 and she had a kid. Which, that's not like, I'm not trying to be like, wow, 26 is too young to have a kid. But like, when you're 26 and don't know who you are, and you're having a child to mend your relationship with your family that you don't understand why it's so broken, you're gonna pass down generational trauma to to your baby. And then 24 years later, you'll get cancer and die, and then your kid will have to rewrite everything that you taught her about how her worth depends on your mood that day. I can't do anything to your face. This whole video has been a rambly way of me saying, you never really know a person. And that's not supposed to be the trust no one, you never really know a person. That means there are people who met my mother and then years later have heard stories and are completely shocked because when they met my mother, she was the nicest person in the world. She was so sweet because that's the mask that you put on to show the rest of the world. But behind closed doors, oh yeah, I never told you the memory that I have so vivid in my mind from childhood. I went on a rant and forgot to explain it. She would sit me down. I had bunk beds. So much room for activities. But I was by myself. Why did I have bunk beds if I was an only child? Anyway, I always slept on the bottom bunk because I was scared of falling off of the top bunk. I would be laying, looking at the slats until she made me look her in the eye so that she would know that I was paying attention, because if you're not looking somebody in the eye, how are you paying attention? Neurodiversity doesn't exist in the world of my mother. It didn't. Another video for another time. Anyway, she would lecture me for like what felt like an hour. It was bedtime. Think about this. You're putting your kid down for bed. You want them to, sleep. And what she does instead of like reading me a story is sitting at the edge of my bed and squeezing my wrists and telling me that, like, you didn't do your best today. Be the best you that you can be. And here's how you do that. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. When somebody does this, you respond this way. When I say this, you say that. Literally, she would say, I say jump, you say how high. And she thought that was fine because she was acting off of emotion. And when she would hit me, there's a face that she would make. She'd go, and I would get scared. I would get triggered, technically, when I would see somebody do that. And it took me a long time to realize she's sucking the inside of her cheeks in and biting them, bracing, bearing down before hitting me. If you are that angry that you have to brace yourself to hit your child, that's not parenting and it's not discipline. It is anger and it needs to be addressed. Someone else that lived in the same house as me when I was growing up had to go to anger management one time, 12 times, to, demonstrate that they had learned that maybe you don't hit women and children, and complained to me about it. The trunks and the leaves, the island gives us what we need, and no one leaves. That's right, we stay. Anyway, I like Moana. I grew up in a weird house. Sometimes I pull out my eyelashes because I get really stressed. Like, share, and subscribe, baby. Thank you so much for watching. This video had no structure, and you know what? That's fine. Neither did my childhood, and that is why we're here. I just wanted to get that out there, and I haven't posted a video in a few weeks, which is why my hairstyle is drastically different than the last time you saw me. I want to end this on a positive note. Ghosts are real. They may not be paranormal, but a person can be haunted. That's what my entire disorder is. The island gives us what we need. Here we are. What was I talking about? Weird home, no structure. I don't remember what I was talking about. Right, I'm gonna talk to my mother. You did the best you could with what you had. And I know if you could do it all over again, knowing what you know now. Somebody once told me that if you are out there somewhere, you are now in a place of enlightenment, which means that who you are is who you've always been, but without the layers of hurt that made you hurt others. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, you never know what's going on behind somebody's eyeballs. Food for thought. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to be kind to yourself and others today. Drink some coffee. Water. Drink some water. Take your meds. And screw it, have some coffee. You deserve it.